Hey there, cats and kitties. I am the Blues Man, Johnny Blues. With this video, I'll be discussing my thoughts on episode 5 of the anime series, Arslan Senki, or the Heroic Legend of Arslan. And this episode was just sheer intensity, and I mean blood-curdlingly, to a point. We're basically seeing Arslan having, effectively won over Narcissus and his page, Elam. They, along with Daryun, seem like they're going to be making off right away to Ecbatana, where the Queen Mother is and everything like that. The people of Pars, all this stuff are keeping station, trying to keep safe. And because of the strategist that Narcissus is, he realizes that Carlin's people are going to be positioned all on this mountainside, all within this sort of forest, just waiting for them. And even when Carlin's own people that they cast down in the well in the previous episode, to utmost hilarity, when they finally do get out of said well, even they're saying, don't think you're going to have an easy time escaping, even though you made off with our horses, because our people are going to nab you, And I love that Narcissus is thinking, because of that strategy, so many steps ahead of the game, to the point where he basically leads them, this foursome, to caves to stay hidden and just bide their time. They're sort of playing a version of chess or something similar, a strategic kind of game. My kind of guy, artistic and loves chess. I happen to love that game. And the discussion is very much, all through the course of the episode, how might the Lusitanian army, try to attack Ecbatana, because that's going to be their next move. And, of course, they are, as we see in this episode, trying to gain entrance into Ecbatana with their giant towers, on wheels and everything. They're mobile towers, if you will, the ladders. They have rams that they're trying to get through the gateways and everything. And they offer up Lord Shapur, who they've beaten and bloodied, and there is just this aggravating for somebody like me who in the real world does not like what people do in the name of religious beliefs and such, and that's all religions, no one in particular, but the murder and torture of people, of human beings, and that's going on, it's rife within the history of humanity, and it's being depicted in this episode despicably, with this guy, this mouthpiece, if you will, who's trying to call everyone within the safety of Ecbatana's walls. They're not devout, they're not believers, they're going to go to hell, they're going to punish them and all this stuff, and they're beating the bloody hell out of Shapur to the point where he pleads angrily. It's not like he's caving to weakness. It's his own inner strength to defy this religious malarkey. He pleads for his people to put an end to his misery. Don't let the Lusitanians, gain the upper hand by making him sort of a victim to their just asinine way of thinking and their belief set, their mindset. And we have this lone archer who we don't know who he is from right off the bat. And I even was questioning, might this be the female character we see in the OP, but actually turned out not to be. But this one lone archer actually has an arrow that he can cast further than anyone else and more precise than anyone else, headshot to Shapur, ending his misery and gaining the upper hand against the Lusitanians in that moment. And you see the mouthpiece on the Lusitanian side looking back at Shapur's now lifeless body, and Shapur's got a grin on his face. Because in his dying moments, he was satisfied to have, drawn the carpet out from under the whole belief set of the Lusitanian side. And so they're not gaining entry. In this episode, we see they are failing miserably, but we do have one kernel that is left over. Of course, I'm getting a little ahead of myself, because we do actually find out when the Queen Mother asks that this archer be brought to her for reward's sake, to basically champion the deed he did for Shapur in the name of the Parsian people. And we find out that this cat, by the name of Give, he is quite strangely, almost matching in my mind the way I feel about Narcissus, the strategist artist. Here is this guy who is also an artist, and he's just a killer archer. And he's also apparently so smooth with the ladies. And he's like telling one of the handmaidens of the queen, oh, I'm a prince in another country. I'm traveling the world. He gets her in bed, and then he's sort of being a misogynist pig to her right in front of the queen's face when she's calling him out on it and all this stuff. But he's like being pimp too. He's like, well, I'm actually a guitar player or whatever. I play the flute, and I happen to be good, better than most of your forces with a bow and arrow. And so she, the queen challenges him, brings out an instrument for him to play, and he does play it, and he kind of rifles off this very poetic dirge, that kind of sort of plays into the battle that is waging. I mean, we see it transposed over shots of the battle unfolding, of the Lusitanians trying to gain a foothold and entrance into Ecbatana, and failing, So basically, is given a reward. It's 300 gold pieces less than he was hoping for, and he calls the queen in mind stingy, but then she lets the bomb drop, the other foot drop. Well, this is because you got with the chick, and you lied to her, you're getting cited, essentially. And we kind of leave off with that colonel, as I was referring to earlier, in the discussion between Arslan and Narcissus about, well, how might the Lusitanian people try to gain that foothold within Ecbatana, turn the slaves on the Parsian people. Wow, was keeping slaves a mistake? I mean, man's inhumanity to man and all of that. I mean, we know where we stand on being anti-slavery and everything like that, but it's set within a period in history that common sense kind of was fleeting, at times. I mean, you would have to be like a Merlin, somebody who confided in the king and was like the king's vizier or something like that, if you actually used common sense practices and mentalities. So this has been effectively lost on the Parsian people, and they've kept slaves, and now the Lusitanians are chanting for those slaves to uprise and take back their freedom and gain under their god, the right to be free and the right to wealth and all this stuff. Sounds very savory from slavery standpoint, from a slave's standpoint within those walls. Maybe let's side with the Lusitanians. We don't know who is the worst evil here, because we got our oppressors, and then we got these people who say they want to liberate us. So all hell is effectively about to break loose as we end this episode. And Arslan comes across that realization that, oh yeah, the slaves, they're potentially gonna just wreak havoc from the inside of Ecbatana out. And I can't wait to see where we go from here. I'd love to hear from you guys in the comments below what you thought of this particular episode of Arslan Senki. I absolutely enjoyed it. Again, was brought to the edge of my seat and just really transfixed to find out what was going to happen. And I've been really sort of fearing the worst for Arslan's queen mother. I'm really hoping she doesn't become a victim in all this, as potentially the king may have been. We still don't know where Andragoras is, what's happened to him, whether they've taken his life or they're just holding him. This silver mask, we see a reference in the PV for the next episode that he's on the side of righteousness, so to speak, as wrong as that may be to we the viewer and to the good guys in the series. But I would love to hear some speculations on where you think this is going to be going and how you enjoyed the episode and the series so far, every step of the way. So otherwise, that'll be pretty much it for me on this. I hope this video finds you well, and I'll catch you all later. Peace.